So, there were some girls that were asking me about my comedy, and they're like, how do you know that you're in it? How do you know that you're, like, actually doing it? I mean, I felt like I was actually doing it tonight, I'll be real. I really did. It was weird. Because, I felt like I connected with the audience, like, they were actually relating to me and the things that I was saying. And the way that I was talking to them. Because a lot of the time, when I talk to anybody, I just feel like I'm not connecting. And it's because I'm on a completely different planet than they are. And this is because of a lot of reasons. This has more to do with my spillness than anything else. I don't want to just project all my shit onto the rest of the world. But because of my spillness, it makes me different. It makes me act different. It makes me do things different. Okay? Most people have a smartphone. I still have a flip phone. The reason why I still have a flip phone is because I hate technology, I hate the direction that we're going, and I'm very stubborn. And I realize that it's in my stubbornness that's what makes me so-called crazy, because it's like I just refuse to do things that like normal people do. It's just like, and I don't really see it like that. I don't like purposely like say fuck it to like stand out and be weird or whatever. It's just like I'm just very like anti the things that I'm against. I'm against. And when you're against something, you don't give money to people that do that thing that you're against. You know. So that's why I don't have it. But also I just don't want it. It's hard enough for me to just like use a keyboard and figure out like what all the little buttons mean and all that shit. It's like it's hard enough with like a musical instrument. So just having a device that I need to use to like, you know, contact people, and it's just so strange to me that people are so reliant on this one thing that does all these things. It's like, well, what if that one thing stops working? You're fucked. You know, you are absolutely fucked. You haven't memorized anybody's phone number. You haven't, you know, figured out a way to do things without that phone. That's bad. That's really, really bad, you guys. But I don't know. All the kids were like obsessed with me. Like all the kids that I worked with at various times were like totally obsessed with me. The Gen Z kids. Because, you know, for a long time I didn't have the internet at my house. Before I started doing YouTube, I didn't have the internet at my house. Still don't have a TV. Like, it's not a working TV that connects with anything. I have like a DVD/VHS player that I can watch movies on. But it's like, I don't have a bank account. Both of my jobs, like, they pay me through a card or whatever, which I hate that too, but it's like, you know, it's just the way it goes. But yeah, I don't have a bank. I don't have a smartphone. I don't do GPS. I just rely on good old-fashioned directions. I really like the landmark directions. Like, okay, you're gonna see this, this, and this. Like, I don't like street names. Give me landmarks. Those are the most helpful. Because visuals are way more important, and it's a lot easier to see a large building, you know, like Hardee's or some shit, you know, than it is to pay attention to a street sign. Because the street sign a lot of times is hard to read, and sometimes you don't realize that a street is there until it's gone, okay? This happens so many times in cities especially. You know, you're traveling around, and you're like, oh shit, I just missed it, you know? We're like, oh, that was it. Gotta turn around, gotta find a place to turn around, and then that's a pain in the ass. It usually takes an additional 10 to 15 minutes, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, landmarks. Landmarks are better. Google can't give you landmark directions. So, that's the whole point of talking to people, like word of mouth. You know, ask people for directions and they'll give you directions. Sometimes they'll write them down on a piece of paper. That's cool. Old school, right? Old school. Writing utensil? Old school. Pen? Old school. Holy shit if they have a pencil, right? So, they got a piece of paper, they got an actual piece of paper, and they got a fucking pen, and they write that shit down, that's some old school shit. You know? That's what I mean by take the country back. You know, like, if you really want to take the country back, you gotta go back to these old ways of doing things. You know, and that's the thing. You just gotta spread that message. And I'm gonna try to do that with comedy. I'll do whatever I can. The thing is, I don't really want to film my sets because I like the idea of just, like, I really hate people filming sets or anything. But I guess it would be good if I wanted to, like, showcase, like, how I can work a room. But I just hate that. I absolutely hate it. I hate it. I feel like it's against my principles. Like, this friend of mine, she shot my video that I did at this other bar. And, yeah, I didn't like it. It's just weird. Like, it's just a weird thing just knowing that you're being filmed. You know, and that stuff's going on the internet. It's a different vibe when you're just there, like, talking to people, and you're just being real. Like, once you introduce the camera, once you introduce the idea of documentation and putting it out there into the world, onto the internet of all fucking terrible places, you know, that's when it gets a little tricky. But it's like, I really want to bring back, like, the grassroots, basement, like, underneath the floorboards kind of comedy. You know, like, just the gritty, you know, dark comedy. You know, just very, very, down to earth. Because I hate, like, the idea of, like, performing in arenas or, like, big crowds. I hate all that shit. And it's not just because, like, I don't think I'm claustrophobic, but I don't know. I like a smaller group of people to connect with. I don't like all that jazz. Just pointless to me. But that's also because like I said, I'm very contrary to the rest of the world that I live in. Because a lot of people just want bigger and better things. They want more money and they want more fans. And I'm like, those people don't care about you. All the fans that you get, they're not going to care about you like the fans that you had. That's the problem. And I never want to sell out like that. So, I don't think that I will. I don't even think it's possible. I really think that, like, what I do is so counterculture that, you know, mainstream pieces of shit aren't going to want it anyway. So that's good, huh? That works out for everybody. Thanks.